Good evening, and welcome to the Mosquito Fire Community Information Meeting for Saturday, September 17th. My name is Nathan Judy, Information Officer for California Interagency Incident Command Team 5. I'll be your facilitator for tonight's meeting, along with our ASL interpreter, Jackie. After the formal briefing, we will address questions emailed earlier to us. Questions emailed during the presentation or in the chat will be addressed either during or after in the chat itself. Tonight, the current acreage on the fire is 73,381 acres. We are at 21% contained. We have a total of 3,729 personnel assigned to this fire. First up, we're going to bring our Operations Section Chief, Dave Saldivini.
Good evening. Current situation on the fire through today, starting down in the Middle Fork and coming up towards Todd Valley in the Forest Hill area. It was real smoky in the morning. Got crews down in there, started mopping up along the fire's edge and working in. And I was asked to explain what mopping up is. And just the short answer would be that's like we ask you to do with your campfires. Get in there, drown it, stir it, feel it. Make sure that it's cold and it's out. And so they're doing that for miles up out of the area down here, and they're doing it about 100 feet in right now and working on getting even further than that. So that mop up continued all the way up towards the Forest Hill Road, and then out all the way through Forest Hill, out towards Michigan Bluff, and out to the Deadwood Road. And driving that road looks really good. There's not a lot of smoke showing. And when that smoke started blowing out with the winds this afternoon, you weren't even seeing any new smokes down here low. So looking really good all the way across here. Coming up into the northern end of the fire, we keep working on our plan and our indirect fire line out to the east and bringing it down to the south. Did have a pocket of heat start putting up a lot of smoke in the afternoon, around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Didn't move much, didn't burn up much, just looked impressive from a distance. At the same time, as we were working on these outside lines, we had folks in close to the fire working with dozers and with hand crews trying to get that thing down into the middle fork of the river. And then on the south side of the middle fork of the river, I'm really glad to say today, even with those winds and even with the fire behavior, a bunch of crews were able to get down in there and start coming up from the river to the south. Got in a really good firefight down in there, holding the line, and where they couldn't use dozers, they just pulled out the hand tools and the chainsaws, and they just started working their way to the east along the fire's edge for a few miles until they could tie that into French Meadows Road, and then continue coming south and tie that in with those hand tools and going direct all the way over to 11 Pines down in this area. And then that road that they've been in a firefight for the last couple of days holding on to it, they kept holding on to that, and they were able to turn a corner off of that and start coming south. There was a little pocket where they couldn't get in close to the fire, but as soon as they could, they took that opportunity, come back out to that fire's edge and keep working that with their hand tools, with their chainsaws, with dozers, whatever tools they could use to get in there and corral this fire all the way down to the rim of the Rubicon River, where they just couldn't get in any further safely. Didn't want to get anybody hurt. So just an amazing piece of firefighting all through this southeast corner of the fire today. And we'll see as they mop that up and as the wind continues to press that, how things go. But right now, looking really good in there. Once you come across the Rubicon and you come down in that Stumpy Meadows area, that's kind of been like it has been for the last several days. They're mopping up along the road systems and their line coming across into Quintet and out to Volcanoville. Things are really quiet, looking really good. And that line hasn't moved in several days now, so we're looking real confident in there. And then when you start coming out Volcanoville towards Buckeye Point, where did the firing operation 5-6 days ago now, continuing to mop up and secure that edge. And like I was saying, when I was looking down in there this afternoon, it was looking really good. So thank you for listening, and end of report.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Next up is going to be our fire behavior analyst, Jonathan Pangburn.
Good evening. First, I'll start off with a weather briefing for you. Major change. We had a massive increase in winds. Same direction out of the southwest, pushing to the northeast again, but a much stronger speed with gusts of 20-25 miles per hour. And that, as you heard, is what fanned the flames a little bit. It allowed some clear air and ventilation into the fire. That allowed fresh oxygen to the fire and really pushed a little bit of plume development. So if you looked up the hill or in the area of the fire and saw some smoke here, and a little bit out into the Ramsey Crossing area, that's what you were seeing. And as you heard, it didn't make a large push. It just looked impressive from a distance because the fuels are still receptive. But the good news is the humidity we had, the moisture in the air from the last almost week as Hurricane K broke down and brought that moisture into the fire area, the fuels have started to change a little bit. They're a little bit less receptive, and that bodes very well, and that is one of the main reasons why the firefighters were able to get in and start doing some of that direct line firefighting into across the landscape and into the river drainages. Moving forward, the weather is going to be a lot wetter. We're expecting to get some rain over the next few days, starting off with some showers a little bit after midnight and into the morning hours. It's going to pick up throughout the day tomorrow, and by tomorrow afternoon should be a decent wetting rain, continuing to strengthen and give more rain into Monday. It will lessen after Monday into Tuesday and possibly have some showers continue into Wednesday morning. That gives us a 72-ish hour period of increased humidity and moisture in the area, as well as some of that dropping down on the fire. Having said that, I don't want it to sound like this is going to put itself out. Unfortunately, we're not that lucky. These fuels are still quite dry, and while they're a little bit less receptive, they are still quite receptive to burning in a general sense. They may not spread as fast, but we will have wind continue while we have this storm system into the area. And when the fire gets up on some of the ridge tops where it's more available to get some of those general winds influencing the fire behavior, we can still see a little bit of spotting. That's where embers are thrown out in advance of the main fire front, starting new fires potentially behind firefighters. That is, of course, a dangerous situation that firefighters are constantly looking for, making sure that they, one, contain the fire, but two, put themselves in a safe situation so that they don't get harmed. The spotting potential is a little bit lessened with the humidity and moisture in the air, but still exists. So know that your firefighters are doing what they can and are going to take advantage of this weather situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Next up from Placer County Sheriff's Office, we have Lieutenant Josh Barnhart.
Thank you. Good evening. We'll start with our live map. Again, you can reach the live map on our social media platforms or go to placersheriff.org for that. I'm happy to announce tonight that Zone 12 is being repopulated. We just pushed that out on social media. So if you are in that area, you may repopulate. Obviously, at the checkpoint at Lincoln Way and Forest Hill Road, you have to provide some proof that you live in that area, so be prepared for that. If you're not sure if you live in Zone 12, you can find your address in the search above, or you can zoom in on the map to find your streets. That zone includes Forest Hill Road from Forest Hill Bridge to Drivers Flat, Old Forest Hill Road from Highway 49 to Forest Hill Road, and all roads off of Forest Hill Road within that stretch. Everything else remains the same. Michigan Bluff, Forest Hill proper, and Todd Valley still remain under evacuation orders, but we're optimistic, like you just heard from the weather, that things will change, and we're hoping to repopulate you soon. And just keep your head up as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Next up, we're going to bring from El Dorado County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Alexander Sori.
Thank you. Hello. I'm Alexander Sori for the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office, and I'm the Public Information Officer. I'll start with evacuations. We have no changes to that. You can refer to our county website, edcgov.us. There's currently 1,900 people and 696 structures under evacuation order. There's 13,900 people and 5,400 structures under evacuation warning. Our staffing for this 24-hour period is 32 El Dorado County Sheriff's Office personnel and 32 mutual aid personnel for a total of 64. Right now we have 114 people utilizing shelters and 241 animals utilizing shelters. There's still room at the human and animal shelters. For more information on those locations, you can go to our website, edcgov.us, or you can contact 211 for information. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Appreciate that. Next up from the United States Forest Service, Helicopter Operations Specialist, Kyle Terrasano.
Good evening. Thank you guys for having me. I'm Kyle Telesano, one of the helicopter operations specialists for the U.S. Forest Service, and I'm here to speak tonight about the night flying helicopter. Helicopter 531 off the Angeles National Forest is located at the Georgetown Airport, supporting the Mosquito fire with night water dropping operations. A little bit of the history about night flying for the U.S. Forest Service. After a period of flying in the 70s, the night flying stopped, and in 2012, after the station fire in Southern California, the Forest Service re-engaged with night flying. So this is our first time being up here, but we have been flying fires in Southern California, primarily on the four Southern California forests, the Angeles, Cleveland, San Bernardino, and Los Padres since 2012. In 2017, Helicopter 531 went to the Sequoia to the Pier fire, and that was the furthest the aircraft had ever been from their base location in Lancaster, California. Last year, on the Caldor fire, we brought up 3 county aircraft from Southern California to assist with night water dropping operations on that fire. And then last week, there was a request to bring up the Helicopter 531 off the Angeles. It's the first time this helicopter has ever worked in Northern California. And again, a monumental incident that we're dropping water at night on Forest Service land. So there's a couple of pictures I'll explain about the aircraft over here. It's a Bell 205, similar to the water dropping helicopters that we have during the daytime. This helicopter is outfitted with a 300-gallon tank, and it only ground fills at night. So the Helitac crew sets up at a water point for this incident. They're using the Georgetown Airport for their water point. If they work on the north side of the fire, they would look at another area. But for the areas of concern that they'll be working on, they'll be working out of the Georgetown Airport. And the helicopter comes in and lands, and they'll take a fire hose off of a hydrant and fill it up, and then the helicopter goes with night vision goggles, dual pilot operation, and supports the firefighters on the ground. This picture just shows the configuration. Everything's got a green halo. The next picture will show a goggles shot, but the helicopter is configured for night flying. It can fly in the daylight as well, but it does have special gauges so they can see everything at night. This is a green phosphorus. It's hard to see the helicopter in the picture, but that's looking through the night vision goggles, and there's a couple of different things, but it does illuminate the ground and make it much easier to see at night. And this picture here is just showing the crew members that are filling the helicopter for water point operations. And I believe that's it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Kyle. And last up, we're going to bring one of our Unified Incident Command chiefs. That's going to be from California, Team 5, Rick Young.
Thanks, Nathan. Operations talked about some of the work that's been going on. We still have almost 4,000 firefighters assigned to this, working 24 hours a day to secure these lines. But with over 100 miles of fire perimeter, each of which has to be looked at and walked and mopped up, there's still a lot of work to do. Our focus has been on life and property. You've heard that every night, and that hasn't changed. Specifically focused on, right now, eliminating the hazards and the fire spread in the community so we can get you back in your house. Starting to see the fruits of that labor as both counties are able to start lifting those evacuations, and I think we'll see that trend increase over the coming days. But we will still have firefighters out there, especially working that east side. Lots of work left out there. We are seeing a change in the weather, which will help us a bit. So I think you'll see our containment come up as well. I just want to thank the community for their continued support. Thank you for your time tonight. Be well.
Thank you, Commander. And that concludes our formal presentation of the meeting tonight. We haven't received any questions this evening, so we appreciate your attendance. We appreciate you watching tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Please submit your questions through email at 2022.mosquito at firenet.gov. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night.